You're listening to our free podcast, The Screw Loose Juice. But this is just a taste. If you want the all-access pass to Rare Americans, then sign up for our fan club. For just $5 a month, you'll get never-seen-before music videos, guitar tutorials, articles written by the band, never-heard-before song demos, and hey, maybe even a little life advice that we've picked up along the way. Your $5 goes a long way in helping us make more music and videos to further reach people just like you all around the world. The link to sign up is on our website, rareamericans.com, and on our Instagram page, @rareamericans. Thanks so much for your support. Screw loose juice! All right. Welcome, Lubo.
Welcome, James.
The first ever edition of the Screw Loose Juice podcast.
Yeah, episode 1.
Numero uno.
AKA the Jamesy in the house.
All right.
So
wait. Let's tell people the first edition here, you're going to interview me.
Exactly, yeah.
And then maybe on the next one, I'll interview you.
Yeah, if you're still friends, then you can interview me.
Okay, so depending on how this goes, we'll see if we get to number 2. If not, this is a single episode series.
Or maybe you will get to number 2, but not with myself, or, I don't know.
Okay, great. Good to know that we have that going in.
Yeah, let's put the fucking cards on the table here, James.
Okay, and maybe for anybody who's never heard us before, we're from the band Rare Americans. But I imagine if you've somehow made it to the depths of Spotify to hear this podcast, you have probably at least heard one of our songs before.
At least one, the Wake Up one, right?
Yeah, the least streamed song we have. Thank you to all the Wake Up fans out there. I actually like that song.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, let's get into that.
Okay.
Well, so since there is a bunch of interviews with you on the internet available for everybody interested, I had to do a little bit of research.
Nice.
So that we are
I'm excited.
Yeah. I learned something. I didn't know that you're 6 feet tall. I thought that you're like 6'2" or something.
Oh, no. I'm not that tall. 6 feet. Well, I'm not short, but I'm not.
Yeah, you're a decent height. Anyway, so I'll start with what I already know so that people know who I'm talking to.
Okay.
And then you can correct me if there's anything wrong, okay?
Okay, sure.
So, James Priestner, a handsome Canadian-born white male with a semi-curly blonde hair and blue eyes. That is a description if you have never seen a picture of James Priestner.
Nice.
Okay, according to the Elite Prospect Hockey website, you were born on February 9th, 91, Edmonton.
False.
I think it's London,
Ontario.
Right.
Yeah, I was born there. Didn't live there for long, but that's where I was born.
That's what I thought. So, yeah, okay, cool. And then 6 feet tall, that you clarified that. And then the father, Mike Priestner. And
let's not get the whole family involved. Come on.
I mean, I would love to know who's, James Hetfield,
sure.
or whatever.
Sure, let's go with it.
And then also the website goes on and says that you are retired. I mean, it also says that James Priestner has no endorsements yet. So how is the retirement working for you without endorsements?
Oh, thriving. Really thriving. The streaming revenue from the song Wake Up is really... It's fun in the operation, and retirement is nice in sunny paradise, and my short-lived career.
Okay, so you played for Kamloops, Brandon, and that's like your hockey years, right, in WHL?
Yep, and Prince George. Yeah. And so, what are the best and the worst memory from the time? Best and worst memories. I have to say one of the best memories I had from playing in the Western Hockey League was the billet that I had in Brandon. Her name was Gail.
Okay.
And for those of you who don't know, a billet is like the kind of the host family that you stay with, because the Western Hockey League, you're age 16 to 20, and you're not allowed to live on your own.
Right.
So they kind of take you in and become your kind of parents in a way. And me and Gail just like really connected. Her husband worked for CN Rail, so he was gone a lot. He was often gone for work. So the two of us just had like so many nights of like we would just play crib and we would talk. She taught me how to play crib. I didn't know how to play. Always make sure I had like great meals before games, and she was cool too. I was only 17, and like, you know, she'd crack a bottle of wine and we would drink wine and play crib and just talk about things. And so yeah, I that's one of my best memories is just having like such a rad billet there. Not to say I didn't have some good memories of some really awesome games and stuff like that, but I would say that was like this is off the cuff, so that's something that jumps out at me. And worst memories, I think probably like some of the coaching things. Like when I played in the league, it was really like the old school mentality. So a lot of the coaches were still kind of that, the old guard, and they would just berate you, or they would just scream at you, or like just as vile as you just shouldn't talk to people like that. I'm just calling people horrible names, and so that happened to me at least a couple different times, and I remember those being like really dark days, especially when you're like a 16-year-old kid or a 17-year-old kid. You're still figuring yourself out. You're away from your family and your parents. Maybe there was times where I wasn't playing well for a stretch, and I was probably low in confidence, and then for like a coach to really just like totally cut you down even further is like, I just remember being some dark days. And
how did you cope with that? Like, what was your go-to method to kind of like does that like behind you and just like keep moving, or just like because I assume like quitting in the middle of the like season is just I mean you can do that, but
well, two things. One, I mean, maybe it sounds, I don't want it to sound cliche, but like music and writing a lot. Like I remember oftentimes after a game, if you lost, we'd be on the bus driving through the middle of the night to get back to the city, and there'd be no movies allowed on the bus if you lost. If you won, you could watch movies. The team could watch movies. And if you lost, you couldn't. It was silence. You weren't allowed really to talk, which just shows, again, kind of the old school mentality. But that's what it was at the time. I don't know if it's like that now. But so I would just, put headphones in, and I remember listening to like a band that stands out to me that I really remember listening to a lot is like Iron and Wine. I don't know if you know them. They're like really sad acoustic music. Like every song is like extremely introspective, slow, sad, very soft singing. And I remember just like almost putting that music on, and like it made me feel worse, but that almost made me feel better in a weird way. I don't know, sometimes if you're in like a really dark place, or you almost want to feel worse for a reason, you look for music to make you even go further in that place. So I remember doing that a lot, and also just like writing in a journal, or I always kept like a phone kind of diary. Right. That helped me quite a bit. And then I did quit though, my 18-year-old year. I remember starting the year in Prince George and really hating it. There was a guy on the team who had it out for me. Like he really didn't like me. There was I was dating a girl at the time who I had met that summer, and unfortunately her dad died like right when we started dating, of like a freak accident. And so she was really down, like, and so we got really close over that time period, and I was trying to kind of help lift her spirits again, as well as kind of take care of myself, and try to get back to the season in good shape and whatnot. And this guy who was on the team, he happened to be from the same town as her, and I think he might have had like a little crush on her or something. And he was just a bit of like a trouble child. And so that the whole start of that season, he just had it out for me. Like I remember we did like a team dodgeball at the end of a workout, and he was a big strong guy, and he was hucking the ball at my head, like just hunting for me. And I was like scared of the guy, like quite literally scared of him. And I told the coach, I was like, man, this guy is like every practice, he's just shooting slap shots at my head. Like I just can't, I can't take this anymore. Like I can't play with this guy. He's literally like he's out to not kill me, but like
he was being a big dick.
I was quite literally scared of him. Yeah. He was 2 years older than I was. He was a big, strong guy, and like literally had it out for me. And that just got worse and worse. And I remember like I would say if I've ever been depressed in my life, it was at that point in time. This is the start of my 18-year-old year. this girl I was dating was going through this with a death in her family, and this guy had it out for me, and I wasn't playing very well, and I quite literally remember like being at a billets and just like hanging in my room, and I was ordering pizza like every night.
Yeah.
And I got really out of shape, and I just wanted to like, I don't know, it was like eat my feelings kind of thing. But I just quite literally remember just like ordering pizza every single night. And like I never do that. And it was a really bad, dark place. And I knew I had to get out of it. Like I knew I couldn't continue doing that, and I had to make a change. So about halfway through the year, it continued. Nothing changed. Nothing changed with the guy either. Nothing. Coach didn't really talk to him. He was a good player,
right?
And so I made the decision. I remember calling my dad, telling him that I just couldn't do it anymore. And he was obviously a big, supporter of me, and he loved hockey. He'd been my coach as a kid, so it was a really big thing. And then I remember going to the coach's house and just being like, my heart's not in this anymore. Like I have to get out of here. And I did.
So do you think it's mostly like a people that surrounded you, or was it the game itself as well, or was it like a mixture? Or
I think it was probably a mixture. I didn't get drafted that previous year either. Like your 17-year-old year is when the NHL draft happens.
Right.
And I had a really good start of the year. Like the first half of the year, I played great, and I think I was ranked to be drafted. And then
like you were also representing Canada, right? At like U17 or something like that. If I read
that was the world.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that was the World Under 17 Challenge when I was 17. So I made that.
Yeah.
And then, I played a great first half of the year. I thought I was likely going to get drafted. Kind of got the opportunity at the start of the second half of the year. The first game back after Christmas is always a weird game because everybody's gone for a week and you get a little out of shape. And so it can be, those are like 7-5 games typically. Like there's just a lot of mistakes. And I remember the coach, he gave me the nod for that game as kind of like second half of the year. Maybe you can be our starting goalie kind of thing. And I was like, fuck yes, awesome. And then I ended up just shitting the bed. Like just played atrocious. And I think we ended up losing 7-5 or something, just one of my worst games of the year. And so he went back to the other goalie for the next game. And then we kind of battled it out for the rest of the year. And I just, unfortunately, don't know what happened. I just didn't play my best for the second half of the year. So I didn't get drafted. And that was a big disappointment for me. That's all I ever wanted my whole life kind of thing. And then, I think from there, that was just kind of the start of, I got traded in the summer. I got traded to Prince George. And then, obviously when I went there and just had this whole thing happen with this guy, like it just, everything went further down. I just lost my desire to be on the ice, and you can't play at that level if you just don't want to really be there every day. So,
yeah. So you mentioned your dad being like your biggest almost like supporter. Is that him that got you into the hockey, or was it like your interest, or like why not a soccer or something else? I don't know, like why hockey?
I think like being a Canadian boy in a way, it's just like, when you grow up, I grew up in Edmonton, and so it's freezing cold in the winter. Every community league has an outdoor rink, so from a really young age. I'm sure you were kind of the same in Slovakia. It's like there's a lot of outdoor rinks and a lot of skating on the lake. Yeah. So I remember having like a family cottage growing up and would go skate on the lake from a really young age. So, and my dad was a big hockey fan. He played hockey. He was a goalie. So he naturally loved it and started taking, skating lessons as a young kid. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to try out for hockey or whatever. Like you do that when you're 5 or 6, and then, I just stuck with it, and I had a knack for it, and I really liked it, and it was fun, and I was good at it, and all my best friends played hockey too. So
it kind of went.
You're just in it, right?
Yeah. Well, cool, awesome. So to lighten this whole little Prince George experience that I'm really sorry to hear about.
Thanks.
Are you aware of your LinkedIn profile?
Oh boy. You know what? That's like one. I'm not a massive social media guy. I like to scroll like anybody, but I don't post like a ton. And I think it was LinkedIn was maybe like when we started that limited company.
Yep.
I think I made like a LinkedIn profile because I felt like I was supposed to or something,
Yeah.
and then I don't even think I've logged into it since then. So I think it could probably use an update.
No, I mean it's a great resume over there. It's just like
Oh,
you picture yourself as an experienced filmmaker, producer that focus on commercials and music videos. We've done that together. It was fun. Like, would you ever consider going back to doing something like that, or is that just like you've been through that, you know what it's all about, and it's kind of not for you, or you still kind of like?
no, I really like it. The thing about being a producer is it's like throwing a wedding every single time that you want to make anything. So
Yeah.
just the amount of time and details and attention to detail and the amount of things that have to go right every time you do it is, you just can't screw anything up. It's also safety goes into that. You just
Yeah.
have to have all these things in place. Also for people and good quality people to want to work on projects, they have to enjoy the process and feel, like it was a good work environment. It was structured. There was good food to eat, and they felt safe. So to make a successful production, there's just, as you know, we did those together. Just the amount that goes into that, you just don't. You only have time for so many things.
Yeah.
That's one reason I really love animation, is because you can tell any story you want to, but you're not confined to, okay, I need 6 locations for this. I need a crew of 45 people in one weekend. I need, all of these details to come together in one tight time window.
Yeah.
So that's why I've been really enjoying with animation is, also with live action, I've said this before, but you're so constrained by budget because the bigger the idea or the crazier idea, you just can't do it. Like, things like Brittle Bones Nicky or Milkman or like all those ideas, they're hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, you need a Taylor Swift budget and they take months to prepare.
Exactly.
Versus you can accomplish the same thing and also looks really cool with animation in way less time.
Right. And so it also mentions, like, I'm still on the LinkedIn thing, because I found it kind of like, I know when I read it, I kind of like, I know date-wise, like, where were you and like how it looked like. So the Joe Ciccarelli thing, it's a gigantic name.
Yep.
If you are in the music industry or if you know who Joe is, like I didn't know who Joe was at that time, but I was like, whatever, Joe Ciccarelli, who that is.
I didn't either.
Joe, don't listen to that.
Well, we were new, right? We were.
Yeah.
How would we know? We were totally new to the world of music production.
So if you try to imagine a band that just plays and works on their craft, and they manage to get someone like Joe or whoever, like a name for their debut, like a first studio album, like what would you say to them? Like what should they expect, or what the process is like for someone who has never been in the studio, let alone with someone like Joe?
Good question. I think he just brought like a level of professionalism, probably that we just didn't know at that point in time. I think we knew it a little bit because we did that one EP with the Lunas, and I think that Dean Marr was really professional and comes from a similar time period of how he did things. Of course, everybody has their different ways of doing things and different processes, but I think Joe, he was such a hard worker. He just really, like, every single day, that was the one thing I really respect about Joe. It didn't matter to us that we weren't, or it mattered to him that we weren't Jack White or the Strokes.
Yeah.
At least I never got the vibe that he was like mailing it in and this is a brand new band. He was like, I'm here to make the best possible record that I can. And here's what I need to do to make that happen. So I really appreciated that in him, and it almost to me gave like us a little bit of confidence that we were like, hey, we're not this like, junior, small, little tiny band that no one gives a shit about, which no one did. No one had even heard of us at the time. And he treated us kind of like pros in a way. But that also at the same time, I think that there were times where you could sense a little bit of frustration in our naivety or our wanting to do things away. And he's just like, no, play this again. No, you're going to play this 20 more times until you get it right. Or, the groove's not right there yet. You really got to lock in on this. You need to simplify that. Or, the tempo on this song just isn't feeling great. I think that we need to speed it up a little or slow it down a little, or we need a little ear candy here in this section. Like, he just really had, like, obviously he'd worked on so many records and big songs, and he kind of made me like, okay, yeah, this makes sense to me now. We should think about songs like this in a way that we probably hadn't up until that point.
Right. So it's like a big lesson, like pretty much you've learned as a band leader and and a producer that stands behind the Rare Americans, like a different approach towards the songwriting and thinking about the songs.
Yeah, totally. And just, even like more nerdy stuff, like, I thought the way that he clearly had a plan from the beginning that, like, okay, we were going to put acoustic guitars through tiny little old shitty amps because that creates a sound. And he really, like, wanted to do that on most songs. He had that kind of sound in mind. And that made me kind of be like, oh, okay, cool. There's really no rules to this. Anything can end up being cool,
Right. Well, I mean, spearheading from that point to nowadays in the future, there's an article in Vancouver Sun, I think, from 2018 saying that Rare Americans is bringing a next level marketing to the music industry, which you have kind of proven by being very engaged with your fans on social media, coming up with riddles and just like really pushing it online. What can fans expect for the fourth album? Like, what is if you can reveal some of that, like, what's the marketing ideas? Like, are you, as someone who works closely with you, I know that the hard work is just like, it's your fucking MO, like, working hard that's what you do. So pushing yourself or the band or team members or whatever, in whatever level, it's just natural to you. So what fans can expect to...
Oh, good question. If
you can, I mean...
I don't even know if I have that fully realized at this time. I feel like the one thing with us is that we've put out a lot of music since we've been kind of independent and totally free to put out music. So... which I think I had this talk with you once over email. It's different to like a big major label artist who's got almost their year planned out at the start of the year. They know, here's our singles, here's the rollout plan, here's the marketing plan. It's months and months in advance. With us, so much of it has been like, we're not way ahead of things. It's been like, okay, we're putting this song out and this record out. Okay, we need to figure out a marketing plan to release this song. What can we do? Okay, we need to figure out pre-saves are obviously important now. We need to figure out a way that doesn't feel like total pain in the ass to our fans. Let's at least make this fun. So whether that's with a riddle or that's with, giving something away that's interesting or whatever.
Where do you get an inspiration for all that? It's just like...
I think it's literally just, it's out of necessity. It's out of the fact that we have to do it and we have to get it done. And if we want to actually have some success from it, we need a half decent idea. So it's like, okay, it's on my to-do list. It's like, if I don't get this done, it's going to be a failure. So we just have to do it. So, okay, toss out an idea, toss it to the room, toss it to you guys. And then someone says, yeah, that's cool, but what if we also tried this? Okay, that changes and alters the idea. Someone else adds something to it. And then, we often kind of arrive at something. And I think for this year, again, I don't know, getting into the more nitty gritty, it used to be that our YouTube streams and our followers on YouTube dominated Spotify. And I think that was due to the volume of the animated videos that we did. And then over the course of the last kind of 6 months, YouTube's really kind of taken a hit and Spotify has really caught up. So I was trying to think, okay, how do we keep our channel looking fresh again or do something different? So that's when, the idea of doing like the little kind of mini movie where instead of doing 3 music videos separately, do them as one piece of content with a storyline and some dialogue even in the songs. And see if a longer form piece of content with a story would make YouTube's algorithm at the end of the day be like, okay, this is a good piece of content that we want to push to more people. So that was the type of thing where it's like, okay, there's an idea, let's try it. It's in the process now of being made, and we'll see what happens. But that's going to be, I think, that's its own little project, its own little mixtape. And as I told you guys the other day, I definitely want RA4 to be a feel-good, high-energy, just a record that really motivates people, because I know it's been a really hard 2 years for the whole world, and I think a lot of people are, coming out of that now, and I think a lot of people are coming out of that as new people or changed people in a way in whatever way. Right. So I feel like now just getting back to work, getting back to traveling, getting back to doing more of life as we did it before. I just feel like a record that's really uplifting and almost like a kick in the ass for people to be like, all right, now, we're back. You can accomplish what you want to accomplish too. Like, take some chances, take some risks, believe in yourself. I feel like I'm ready to make a record like that, as opposed to the last record. I felt a lot more, it was during the pandemic pretty much. And I felt a lot more, introspective, I guess, about things, or a lot more, not down, because I don't think down is the right word at all. Just more like, confused, or trying to figure things out, asking myself questions about myself, or trying to learn about myself more. And now I feel like I'm ready to go for a run, and to continue the push and the climb, and I want some music that feels like it gives me that extra edge to get up the hill, kind of thing.
Nice. Okay, so I think we do have a time for one more question, maybe. What's your schedule? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Let's do one or two.
Okay. So then, if we're doing two questions, then we're almost kind of like finishing the prep for the tour, the first US tour Rare Americans gonna have. So what can fans expect from Rare Americans live show? Like, what would you say? Like, why would someone come to the show and see us play for the first time in States? Like, how would you sell that to someone?
I think it's just going to be like pure raw energy. Like, it's just going to be raw enthusiasm, and we haven't ever done this before. The last shows we played, we were in the UK playing to almost nobody. So this is just going to be an experience that none of us, I think, have ever had in our lives. So I can only imagine before the first show, when you see it's a packed room and you're like, okay, it's game time. I think there's something special in the spirit of just seeing that energy. It's not like we're, I don't know, anybody, Coldplay, who's played 500 shows in their career. And there's almost probably very few environments they would go into where they're not totally comfortable, because they've done it. And so for us, I think this is just going to be like, hey, it's raw. You're seeing us, and that we're going to lay it all on the line. We're going to do our best. We're probably going to make some mistakes. We're going to, there's going to be highs and lows, and we're going to learn as we go. Hopefully we don't have technical difficulties. I don't know. But if we do, we got to roll with it. We're just such a small team, and we've all done this together. Right. So I think now, for the first time, and actually having also the experience with actually connecting with people in person, it feels like, we see all these online numbers and they seem insane. We almost take it for granted. It's like, oh, we only had 250,000 streams yesterday or something. And it's just like, it becomes a number on a page, and you're like, well, why don't we have 500,000 a day? But it puts things into perspective when you're in a room with people now, and you see these people, and you see an impact that this music has had on them, like all the bands that we listened to growing up had an impact on us. Now the tables have turned, and so to actually just share in that experience and see how our music has, helped people and just touched people in a different way. I think that's going to be just a life-altering experience. So I can't wait, and I'm not going to be able to fake it. I'm probably going to have a smile on my face the mass majority of the time, just trying to enjoy the moment,
Yeah, it's like at the same time you need to perform, because you need to perform. People are there to see you. But on the other hand, you also want to enjoy that, right?
Oh, totally, yeah.
So like
yeah.
how you blend the two worlds.
To me, that's where I think that's where I'm such a big believer, and this could be my kind of athlete's background. I really believe wholeheartedly in preparation, because I think if you're super prepared, then it gives you a foundation that at your highest or your lowest there's going to be some range in between, because you've practiced this lots of times. You have a good idea. You're not forgetting words. You're not totally missing cues. It's just, we're tight because we practice, and I think we can all take confidence in that. So when we get on the stage, it's not like we're like, a song ends and we're like, oh shit, hey guys, what do we do now? It's like, no, we know what we do, at least, what we've practiced. Now we get to just really, enjoy the moment and heighten the moment and play off the crowd and figure these things out, because we have like a solid foundation that we've prepared, at least.
Right. I mean, like, if you can very briefly summarize what it takes to put together a tour for independent band. I mean, it's very tough, but just like be like, okay, this is like 5 things you absolutely need to.
Okay, so for us, I mean, step one, if I broke it down like that, step one was we had a booking agent, which made all the difference.
Right.
We booked the UK tour ourselves, which was atrocious. So having a booking agent who booked all these great venues, set up the ticket links, did all of that stuff, and we just had to hand them the artwork and promote it on our pages was step one. And that was almost no work for us, which was awesome. So that was great. Step two, I think, was getting the word out there. And I think we had no idea really if we were going to sell like any tickets. I had no idea, at least. I had no idea what to expect. And I remember we saw the first ticket count list come out, and I was like, oh, we sold 50 tickets there, and we sold 48 there, and we sold only 20 there, but wow, we sold 70 here. Like, this looks pretty good. We're gonna have like 110 people coming out to these shows. And then all of a sudden, as like a couple weeks went by, and it's like, oh shit, like this show's like 70% sold out already. And I remember texting Jared, and I was a little skeptical on a few of the places like San Francisco and Portland. They were quite a bit slower, and he texted me back. He's like, this is going to sell out, no problem. And I was like, all right, cool. He's often right about things. So sure enough, a couple of weeks more went by, and we're like, okay, these are sold out. And then next day it was like, this one's sold out. And it was like, wow, this is crazy. So that was pretty cool. And then it was like, okay, holy shit, we need to put this thing together. We need a set list. We need we need to figure out the production, like lights, things like this, all these, little pieces that hadn't come together. You guys had to figure out what parts you're playing in the songs, who's doing what, who's singing, who's not singing. So then I think it was like, just sit in a rehearsal space for hours and hours and hours and figure these things out, and try to have some fun moments that we can engage with the crowd. That's, at the end of the day, it's a show. It's supposed to be entertaining. So how do we entertain people? So I think that we've spent probably the majority of our time trying to figure that out. And then also, this tour was bigger than the UK, where we just used the sound guys from the venues. And this was like, no, this is proper. We need to have a sound engineer. We need to have this stuff so we sound good. So then it was going on the hunt to try to find that person. And, having some, just trying to pick people's brains and learn about this. And then obviously Sean, who is recording this podcast right now, kind of popped into my head I remembered from audio engineering school. And so hit him up, and, I think he's been extremely helpful in putting this all together. And so that's kind of on the production side of things. And then I think my least favorite part by a country mile is the logistics, like figuring out a van, a bus, getting one quote that's ludicrously expensive, figuring out, is that even possible? Jan having to pretty much get a law degree to figure out how we can get visas to go into the country, and him being stressed out about that, and you guys having to go for the extra meeting because you're Slovak and you're not full Canadian citizens yet, and just the logistical element of getting a 10-person crew from Vancouver all throughout the entire United States is a big undertaking, and we don't have anybody but ourselves to kind of help us navigate that for the most part. So I'd say that that's been the most challenging part, and we're still, still figuring out a few things when we leave, and I guess by the time this airs, we're leaving in just a few days. So yeah, it's been a lot for sure.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a success, and it just will go up from there.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I'm sure. But okay, there's one last question. Okay, imagine that you picked up guitar and you just suck. Like it's like you think it's something, but you get the feedback from people and not good. Like don't sing. Try something else. If let's say that you got totally discouraged from music. James Priestner, 31 years old. What are you doing right now?
Ooh, good question. Well, I love, my favorite thing on earth is creating something that never existed before. That's just my favorite thing. That's why I think I like songwriting so much. That's why I like production, and I like Crooked City Studios, the animation company we've just launched. Creating stories that never existed before, and then you create these things and you can put them out in the world and they can have an impact on people or entertain people or whatever. That's my favorite thing in the world, and I think I would always want to do that. So even if it was clothing or anything, just in the creative industry where you get to create something that didn't exist and then get it to people, I think I would naturally want to do that. I really like the creative process too. I'm the type of person that I love being in a room for 10 straight hours and I don't get tired. I can very easily, if it's a studio session, go for 10 hours, have a quick sleep, come back the next day for another 10 hours because I love it. Same thing with writers' rooms and coming up with these stories. I love cranking all day long, going for it, and I don't get fatigued by that. Versus I remember when I worked in sales, for example, I just in the back of my mind, I liked dealing with people, and I didn't mind selling things. I think I had a natural personality for it. But at the end of the day, I just always wanted my shift to be over. And I wanted to go and work on other stuff. And for me, it was songwriting. So yeah, I even though I think I could be good at that, I don't think I would find fulfillment in that long term. I feel like, to me, if you can find a job, it takes up so much of your life. So if you can find a job where it doesn't feel necessarily like a job, like you feel like you enjoy doing this every day, and it's not like, oh, I got to set my alarm for 8 a.m. and I have to be there tomorrow. It's like, I think if when you're in that position, then it's not something you probably truly love. And the unfortunate thing is there's so many people, I think a good percentage of the population, who feel that way. But it's hard to get out of that, or it's hard to, you went to school for a particular thing, and so you naturally go into that career path, and you made that decision at age 18 or 19. It's like, you probably, who knows what you want to do when you're 18 or 19. So I think it's almost okay now that people can realize, hey, this isn't what I love to do every day. And if you have too many mornings where you're waking up being like, fuck, I don't want to go there, then maybe it's time that you try to hunt and find something that you are naturally passionate about, or whether it's a different industry or whatever, that it doesn't necessarily feel like a job to you. Right. And I think once you find that, it does take up a lot of time. So it's something that will make you probably happier in all areas of your life. And I guess I'm just really thankful at the end of the day that, I stumbled into this, I guess. I think when I was 14 and I wanted to be a hockey player, I had zero idea, if I could look back at that kid, that this is what I would be doing right now. But I sure am happy that this is how things have kind of landed, and I'm thankful that we get to do this, and I'm thankful that there's people who care to listen to us and who look forward to things that we put out. And I think that I don't take that for granted, and I think that's what makes me so hungry and eager to do better on the next one, because I feel like I almost have a responsibility now to those people to not just lay a goose egg or something. I want to continually get better. So
awesome. Well, I think we're done with this one.
good questions, man.
Well, I mean,
I have to say, when you're like, okay, I think I should interview you for the first one. I was like, all right, we're gonna see where this goes.
Well, I mean,
but I thought that you're very thoughtful, good questions. So I look forward to. I'm gonna. Hopefully, I can find some stuff in the dark web or something about Lubo Ivan.
Just don't go on Pornhub. Or
yeah,
something.
the legend of Lubo is gonna have to take some serious digging. But episode 2 for all the new listeners, we're gonna get into Lubo's life story.
Well, looking for that.
All right.
Well, thank you, Jamesy.
Thank you for everybody listening. We'll talk to you soon.